You stand on the dusty street, the once bustling heart of a town that's now only a ghost of its former self. The sun casts long shadows that stretch over mostly abandoned shops and other buildings that have been ransacked and looted. Their windows broken and open, yet in no way inviting. A few dollar bills blow by and a sudden gust of wind along with other trash. The local currency, once the pride of your nation, has become little more than worthless paper, and now serves only as a cruel reminder of the recent economic catastrophes. Banks have collapsed, and people trade in whispers, fearful of the ever-watchful eyes of the latest regime. It was clear to anyone with eyes to see that the lead up to collapse had been happening in slow motion for years, but normalcy bias and hope sprang eternal. Your fingers find a small pouch of copper bullion hidden deep within your coat pocket, a last vestige of your foresight and caution. You remember the first tremors of the crisis, how the stock market plummeted without warning. Panic spread like wildfire, and the once confident faces of your fellow countrymen turned ashen with despair. Government assurances did little to quell the fear, as corruption and incompetence became ever more apparent. The political landscape worsened, with power-hungry factions and those protecting the memory of a country long gone battling openly in the streets. Inflation soared, reducing the local currency to mere kindling, useful only for lighting fires on cold nights. That's if they had currency at all. Many people had gone fully digital, and once the digits in their accounts became worth less than zero, in the cases of the least resourceful people, so did their chances for survival during the apocalypse. Hello, fellow mutants. We'll continue the story in just a bit, but before that, let's talk about world events and why I like to have some copper amongst my preps. In an uncertain world like the one we live in today, asset diversification can be a safe harbor. Water, food, some silver, these are all good things, but generally items you are not going to want to give away for small items inexpensive by today's standards. Would you trade that 1-ounce silver coin you spent $30 on in 2024 for a small basket of unattractive apples from your neighbor? Maybe if you were hungry enough, but I think there's another way. Copper bullion is an often overlooked asset for this purpose, for low-cost trades. It has a tangible value that can withstand economic shifts and political upheaval, unlike paper money, which can be devalued by government policies as if it were the streets of Venezuela. Copper, like silver and gold, retains its intrinsic worth. Its demand in both primitive and advanced industries for technology and construction ensures it will maintain a steady value, and because of this, it has historically been utilized as a form of currency in nearly all countries, even to the point where countries that move away from pure or even partial copper content coins still coat their currency with a copper-like coating, such as the zinc pennies we have in the US today, or the 1 kopek of Belarus, which is copper-coated steel. Collecting pure copper bullion rounds can preserve wealth while also providing a versatile asset in times of uncertainty. In particular, it may become an even more appealing choice for those preparing for fluctuating economic and political fortunes and landscapes. Signs of political upheaval seem to be rising worldwide of late, and while centralized governments and banks would like to see people move to virtual currencies they can control, it's my belief that having something real in hand is going to be more important than ever, especially as we seem more and more likely to face an economic apocalypse. Since it's at the low rung of the totem pole when people think of preserving wealth through bullion, silver and gold are usually preferred, but copper still has a place. Over the past 10 years, I've found it's actually a rather dependable portable barter item to own as a hedge against the volatility of fiat currencies, or even more volatile metals. Copper rounds may not be as exciting as silver, which can rise from $17 to $40 an ounce and drop back down to $24 within the span of a few months, but rather it tends to hover in its 1-ounce bullion form at around $2. As I've discussed in other videos, if you just take it in its raw form as scrap metal, you can get it cheaper, but just like my analogy of someone handing you all the pieces to make a sandwich into your cupped hands in the middle of the street, a copper bullion round or bar is much more attractive for barter with its pure 1-ounce content in the form of a thick, shiny coin than a box of scrap metal with a green patina. Now, back to the story. As you navigate the alleyways, you pass a family huddled together, their eyes hollow from hunger and uncertainty. You offer them a piece of bread and they snatch it up greedily while bowing their heads in thanks. Their gratitude is a painful reminder of how far things have fallen. The copper bullion in your pocket feels heavier with each step. You recall an old man's advice when you picked up a tube of shiny copper bullion rounds in a dingy coin shop long ago. Some people may scoff at these, but when paper burns, metal endures. Those words had spurred you to invest more in copper, a decision that now seems almost prophetic. Food, water, and self-defense items were a given, of course, but having more than enough of those to trade openly never seemed like a good idea. If you needed something unusual, some type of medicine, for example, you didn't want to be known as that guy with a lot of bullets or a lot of rice, or Mr. Moneybags with silver and gold to spare, or Mr. Let me get my numismatic guide out so I can educate you on the value of a 1963 dime with some silver content. So you carry some copper rounds for trade. Reaching the center of the marketplace, you find it transformed. No longer a place of commerce, it has become a barter ground where the few remaining goods are traded for anything of value. Your copper bullion, once merely a precaution you collected inexpensively, has now become your lifeline. The gleam of copper you raise catches the eye of a vendor who reads the surface as he turns it over in his fingers. You soon trade it for essentials: food, medicine, and ammunition. The exchange is swift, a stark contrast to the endless haggling over devalued currencies. The night falls and you return to your temporary shelter, a hideout away from prying eyes, made from corrugated metal and other bits and pieces of the ruined town. As you lie down, the sounds of a town in turmoil echo in the distance, voices shouting angrily, pleading, and always the gunshots. Less recently, but still the gunshots. Yet, within the confines of your temporary refuge, there is a sense of peace. The copper bullion you roll between your fingerless gloves is a simple, yet powerful asset, and has provided you with the modest means to endure the chaos. In a world where fortunes can crumble overnight, you have found stability in the steadfast nature of copper, a hedge against the tempest of your times. Who can say whether a scenario like this might actually be realistic? But it surely couldn't hurt to be a little more prepared and diversified than those who are at a loss the moment Uber Eats is no longer available on their smartphones because the cellular and Wi-Fi went down. Check out a place like Liberty Copper or the Golden State Mint if you're looking for some reasonable prices on copper. Both have some pieces that just look great in your collection, if nothing else terrible happens in your lifetime. Well, that's all I had for today. Until next time, it's Copper Mutant, signing out.